Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Chit Chat Across the Pond, and this is episode number 816 for June 14th, 2025. And I'm your host, Allison Sheridan. This week, our guest is the self-proclaimed grandfather of the show, Bart Bouchard.
Well, hello there. I remember what it's like to be officially on this show, although I did sneak in last week without meaning to, which was nice.
That's right. That was kind of an accidental bonus prize for the Chit Chat Across the Pond audience, and I think that was worth having a standalone episode for sure. That was really fun. But we aren't here to talk super nerdy networking stuff. We are in the lighter category of Chit Chat Across the Pond, correct?
We are indeed, and this is one of those things that has been, as you would say, blowing my dress up for months, and I haven't had a reason to talk to you about it. And it was on my to-do list for when I hosted the show, but there was so much other content it fell off.
Okay.
And it's just sort of been sitting here. And then, of all people on planet Earth, Mozilla lit a fire under my backside because they cancelled something a lot of people are very fond of called Pocket.
And what is Pocket? What was Pocket?
Pocket, well, it's. I'm not sure it's fully dead yet, but it is dying.
Not quite dead yet?
July is the end date. Yeah, I thought you'd get that. It is a bookmark manager. Or a link manager, depending how you want to count it. Basically, you have a link, you save it in a categorized way so you can find it again later. And I think link managers are a bit like RSS readers these days. Most people have no need for them. But the people who do really rely on them. And they get very cranky when they go away.
I think I remember talking to Chuck Joyner about this topic a long time ago, and it was Read It Later was one of the classic examples of it.
I used to use that one too. Yeah.
Well, and I challenged most people, not you, because I know you really do use it, that most people probably say read it later and then never read it later. That you think, oh, that's going to be interesting. I don't want to forget that. I want to hang on to that one. And then all of a sudden you have this giant pile and then you feel guilty about it and you just change bookmark managers to a new one, hoping that your habits will get better if you just clean house. But you definitely use your bookmark manager.
Yeah, and my RSS reader, because I do 2 news-based shows. So I have, every 2 weeks, I have a security bits to record, which is basically gathers together all the relevant links, have them in some sort of organized structure, pick the ones that are wordy, throw away the rest, clean the folder, start again. Okay. And I have another one for Let's Talk Apple, and it's the same. Build them up for a month, write a show, clean it out. Build them up for a month, write a show, clean it out. So yeah, I use it very heavily. And you can't find news stories by just randomly surfing the web. You pick the news sites you trust, you subscribe to their RSS, and then you actually read it in a controlled way and then into your bookmark manager. So yeah. And the good news is I found one that I don't just tolerate, because I have been unhappy for years now. I've been sort of hanging in there. I'm going to jump and say it's raindrop.io.
Okay.
And I don't know how I managed to not find this app before, because it's ancient. It's been around forever. It just never made it onto my radar, and it's bloody brilliant.
Huh. So you liked Pocket but didn't love Pocket?
No, I tolerated Pocket. It was the least bad of a bad lot. It was Read It Later, I think I used to use, and that app got discontinued, or the Mac app got discontinued. Something happened to drive me away from it that I was cranky about, because I had a process and everything was the way it had been for years and years and years, and then it was gone.
I think I remember talking to you about it then, and you being on a hunt for a new bookmark manager. I didn't realize that you were not thrilled with Pocket, but...
No, so I ended up on Pocket. And I was there for a while, and I was a bit rough, right? Technically speaking, it had everything I needed. I could save links, and I could put them in a category.
Okay.
And there was a plugin for Safari. It was actually a share sheet, but that's fine. I like share sheets better, because a share sheet works in Slack, podfeet.com/Slack, because when the Mozilla Castaways recommends something, that's just as important as what my RSS reader happens to come up with. And my RSS reader isn't a web page, it's an app. So again, a share sheet is actually better than a browser plugin for me.
Okay.
It had one, it was really crude, But it was getting updates at a fairly regular pace, and I was thinking, well, if they're updating it regularly and it's not great now, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
And it did for a while. And then I upgraded to the paid version, so the ads went away and it was a little bit less bad. And then the updates stopped.
Oh no.
And then the bug fixes stopped. And then 1 week, all of everything I had done on my iPhone vanished into the ether.
What? No.
It just didn't sync to anywhere.
Oh no.
And I had to write show notes and I just had nothing. So I had to go back to my RSS reader, flick over the button. So normally I have it say only show me new items. So I had to go find the button to flick it into the show me everything.
Ugh. And then
scroll back
through
in
it again.
time and go through it all again.
Oh, that's criminal.
That was horrible.
So it wasn't just that it didn't sync, it actually disappeared from your phone?
They were just gone. They were just nowhere to be found.
Oh,
a whole week's worth of stuff. Just poof.
Oh, that's terrible. And I know you do a lot of work on your phone.
Right. So I got really cranky and I left. It's like, I don't know where I'm going yet, but I've cancelled the recurring payment. So I now have a small amount of time to find something better. And I didn't find anything great, but I found an app that was up and coming and it appeared to be very honest. So it was called Omnivore, and their website basically said, we're new, we don't have all the features yet, but we're working hard and here's our roadmap and it all looked good. And I looked through their update history and there was a really nice cadence and they already had the bare bones. And it was actually slightly better because instead of being folders, it was tags. Because with the folder structure, I had a really awkward thing. So if there was a news story that was about Apple security,
what do you do?
One folder does that go into? So my rule was, if the next show due to be recorded is security bits, it goes in the security bits folder, and then I have to remember to move it instead of delete it.
Oh, jeez.
I got it wrong. So stories would have vanished. I'd be writing the show notes going, I could have sworn there was something about passkeys. Oh, guess not. And I got to record Let's Talk Apple and say, oh, there it is. Oopsie. But with the tags, it was actually better because I could tag them as both. But the thing is, I've done something very naughty in this recording, Alison. I've skipped the bit that says the problem to be solved.
Oh, no.
Because everyone knows I write a show with news. And so everyone knows one of the problems I need to solve is news, right? That is obviously my most important problem to solve. But I actually solve 4 problems with my bookmark manager. Well, since I have one anyway, why not use it for other things? So sometimes I find articles and I actually put them in the security bit show notes as I tell you, save this one for your friends and family.
Yes.
I say that because I do that. And so I have this folder of links so that when someone says, what's a passkey? I just go and I search for passkey in my little folder for reference. And then I find the best example of passkeys that I had saved because it was in that folder that says this is worth saving. Or someone at work says, what's the story with Samba? Wasn't there a security vulnerability that you told us we had to remember? And I was like, well, if I told you I had to remember, it's in the folder. Search for Samba, find it, right? So that folder was my long-term storage. And it's not like I must read this later. It was I may need to retrieve this later.
Okay.
So it wasn't the place where stuff goes to die. It was useful. Then the other thing is recipes. I decided at the start of COVID never to waste food. So at the start of COVID, it became really hard to get groceries. And I realized I can't be wasteful. This notion that it's okay to buy too much and then throw it in the bin, this has to stop. It's just not ethical. And that meant that there will be times when I would open the fridge the day before shopping day and go, well, I've never had that combination before. What am I supposed to do with an aubergine and a courgette? Well, actually, that's an easy one. Let's do a stir fry. But I would end up with these bizarre combinations. And I started to Google for recipes and you would find 5 and you'd make 1. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, you'd be back to the same and you'd be doing, why am I doing the same Google search again? So what I started to do was to save them into a folder called recipe ideas. And then if I ended up with 2 ingredients, I would open my bookmark manager and search for those 2 ingredients and see what came up.
Oh, so if it came up with a combination?
Yeah. If, this link gets both of those search terms, let's have a look. And it would just be stuff that I had flagged before as worth trying, but didn't fit today. Maybe today I was doing Chinese and it was an Indian dish, or today I was doing something European and it was an American dish or something. It just didn't fit with the rest of the meal. And so I just keep them. And this worked really, really well in Pocket, where it was folders. And I thought it would be great when I went to tags, because I would just tag it with each ingredient, tag it with mushrooms and tag it with aubergine or whatever, right? But I cook with apples. How do you think that broke down the next time I had too many apples?
That might be the worst possible thing.
Yeah, that was like, oh dear. I did eventually find that you can saute apples with celery, and it's amazing. I would never have guessed, but I bookmarked that for myself some time ago. It was amazing.
That reminds me, whenever people send me files, they so often call them for pod feet. Thanks for your help. How am I ever going to find that in my folders?
Jesus. You search for pod feet.
Right.
Yeah. And then the last thing I only started doing about 2 years ago, but I was like, I'm using this bookmark manager for all sorts of cool things. And every Christmas and every time the Better Half's birthday would come up, I'd be in a panic going, oh my God, gift idea for one of the hardest people on planet Earth to buy something for, I think. I know you and Steve have the same problem,
right.
But I have this problem too. I share this with you. Now, at any time of the year, it goes into that folder, gift ideas.
Oh.
And then when it's birthday time or Christmas time, I just go into the folder and have a wee scroll and I go, oh yeah, that sounds good. That fits what he's doing at the moment. Bye.
Oh,
and away we go.
Okay.
So there are my 4 problems to be solved. And like I say, I was getting away with it fairly okay in Pocket. Then Pocket made me cranky, so I left and I went over to Omnivore. And Omnivore, for a while, really lived up to their promise. So there was regular updates. Their share sheet was getting better. It was starting to autofill my tags. So if I tagged something before, I could type one letter and it would autofill the rest of it. And I was like, okay, this is getting better. I was still ending up with the apples and apples problem, but okay, it was workable. I was getting by. And then, actually, sorry, I forgot to go back. There was one thing that Pocket did that made me very cranky, and I nearly left, but I couldn't find something better. They discontinued their Mac app and forced us to use the iOS app on M Series Macs. I didn't have an M Series Mac, but the iOS app was terrible anyway, so that wasn't going to work. So I was forced to use a web interface that I couldn't Command Tab to when writing show notes. So anyway, I was on Omnivore. They had native apps everywhere. Their share sheet was getting better. I was like, okay,
they had tags.
This is working out. They had tags. It was starting to work out, and the cadences here, like they said, they're up and coming. But then it slowed down again. No new features, but the bug fixes were still coming.
Okay.
And then one day, out of the blue, there was a blog post. Hey folks, service shutting down in 6 weeks. We've just been acquired. Our new owners have discontinued a product. We're off to make some AI thing.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh, Jesus. Yeah, what they're actually, I think it was they were making an app that you would send it your links and it would make you a newspaper. It was use AI to construct you a newsletter so that you could catch up on everything in one newsletter, or a podcaster. Some nonsense anyway, where AI was the answer to life, the universe and everything. And they just went away.
Dave Hamilton has talked about when he chooses a developer, chooses a new app, he doesn't ever choose something that's like a one-person shop. And yet a lot of times the one-person shop turns out to be the greatest thing because you get really good attention to the application and you can contact them and they're a human and you can get things done. But this is a case of where if it's too small, maybe it doesn't survive either.
Yeah, but there wasn't a one-person company, and it was venture capital fund that I found out afterwards. So if I'd done a little bit more homework, I might have been a little bit more suspicious. Because if you have venture capital, you have to play back.
You can't do that on everything. That's just.
But put a pin in this notion of a one-person developer, because you are a huge fan of some of the one-people developers. Like you have the Gus Muellers of the world. You have the
Steve Harris.
Thank you. I was blanking on the poor man's surname, and he makes an app we both rely on, which is Feeder.
And Mars Edit, Daniel. All I can remember.
Junket.
Yes, thank you. All I could remember was his obscene handle that he uses online.
Fair enough.
But yeah, a lot of those people, I just love being able to talk directly to them. So I would still probably pick a single person, but this is kind of the danger when you go to too small of a group. All right, so now you're
So put a
left
pin in
adrift
that.
again.
I am, but I've also I wrote my show notes in a sensible order. So if you want to read the show notes, this is like a narrative, but this is just a conversation. So hey, we're jumping about a bit. I'm going to jump us back a little bit. So when I ran away from Pocket, they weren't dead yet, and so they had export functionality. So they had an API, and when I went over to Omnivore, they had a connector for Pocket because Pocket is the big player in the game. So they were an upstart. So they just had a button, import from Pocket, and everything I had in Pocket just came straight into Omnivore. So I actually didn't lose anything on my first jump. I just had everything with me.
Except for that,
And
all the stuff
folders
on your
became
iPhone from that
tags.
week where they screwed it up. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but the ones for the show notes get deleted when the show is published anyway, so that it starts fresh. So they weren't what I cared about, right? It was the for reference in particular and the recipe ideas. Some of those are just fun.
Yeah.
Right? And then, anyway, yeah. So that time I took everything with me. And then when Omnivore vanished, they did provide an export option, but it was not OPML or anything standard. It was either an HTML file, so basically a web page with all of your links in it, or a JSON file in some non-standard format they'd made up.
Okay.
Now, I know JQ, and their going away blog post contained JQ commands for searching your archive, which is like, well, I guess you've met the odd nerd halfway. But I don't think that's what most people wanted. Anyway, I was back on the hunt. And I had actually decided that I don't trust anyone. I obviously have to self-host. And there's an open source one called Wallabag that you can host yourself on your own server. And I was literally in the middle of trying to get away from WordPress and move to static site generators. And the thought of going to hosting my own, I was cranky. And I was procrastinating because I was cranky, and the 6 weeks had become 5 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, and I still hadn't set up a Wallabag server. I still hadn't done anything, and I had 1 week left on Omnivore. And I did a Hail Mary. I posted to social media. I think I posted in the Slack. I just had one more look, and out of the blue, I found Raindrop.
Oh. Okay.
And it's been around for ages. Decades. It's a one-person company in Eastern Europe who has been doing this for ages. If you read back through the history, the app is so mature. It has such a long history. Once I found the community, there was loads of people saying amazing things about it. It's an amazing thing. If you go to the About page, or I found it somewhere, there's a thing from the developer where he says, I am this guy in, I can't remember which Eastern Europe country it is. I've been doing this for years. This is how I put food on the table. It's not flashy, but it's a really functional app, and I'm dedicated to making it work quickly and smoothly for you. I was, Jesus. He has native apps for Windows, for the Mac, for iOS, for Linux.
Wow.
He has browser plugins for all the usual suspects and Brave and all sorts. It's really bloody mature.
Is it an Electron app with all that support?
It's hard to tell.
Okay, then you don't care.
It works on the Mac.
Yeah,
exactly. It functions. And to be honest, it functions better than either Omnivore or Pocket. And not just by a little bit.
Okay.
It is universes better. So it's a one-person company, and I do genuinely trust them. But there wasn't an easy way to bring in my stuff. And I decided, do you know something? I'm going to declare bankruptcy.
Oh.
I'm going to start over because the organization structure is a little bit different and a lot better in Raindrop. And I had this massive history of inconsistent tag names because I'd forget. And so I tag something as security, and then I decided, how do I differentiate that from physical security to cybersecurity? So then I started tagging cybersecurity. So now half of my stuff was with the wrong tag. It was a mess. It was just years of mess.
I really think every app that uses tags should say, you've already got a tag that's kind of like that. Do you want, like, I'll end up with tags that are uppercase and lowercase in some apps. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah. So I decided I'm starting over. One of the first things I did was my tag that I really regretted the most was Let's Talk Apple with LET''S space TALK space Apple, all properly capitalized, was the tag I had been using for those show notes. That was a terrible idea. So it's,
LTA
I now
would be
have,
pretty easy.
Bing, bing, bing. I now have all lowercase tags, LTA and SB. And that is so much easier to type.
Perfect. Yeah.
Only I never have to type them because everything is with share sheets with roundup.io. The iOS app has this amazing feature-rich share sheet. And as soon as I put my cursor in the tags field, I get a little drop-down with my most recent tags. And LTA and SB are always there. Always, always, always. So I just tap on them. And I never have to worry about the spelling. And if I need another tag, I start typing and then they appear. And I just tap on them so I never get the capitalization wrong and none of that rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
So it has tags, but it also has what it calls collections, which are little islands of links, little categories. They can be nested, which can be powerful if you're the kind of person who likes deep nesting. But I now have a category for show notes. I now have a category for recipe ideas. And so I can use the tag Apple or the search term Apple without any problem as long as I'm in the recipe area and I will never see a single news story.
Oh,
I can search for passkeys in my references collection. I call them folders because they look like folders, but they're officially collections. And it will only show me the stuff I've saved for later. It won't show me any news articles or anything like that.
Because you're in that collection.
Because I'm in that collection. Now, you can choose to search globally or within the collection, but on the Mac app, you have a sidebar. And so if I start by clicking on the sidebar for show notes, then the search defaults to only searching that thing I've selected in the sidebar. And I don't have to type a single thing because I click on the SB tag on one story and then it auto-fills the search field with #SB. And then I just see the security bits show notes. And then I do the security bits show. And as I'm going, I delete them. And then when there's no more things visible on screen, I'm done writing show notes.
Oh, wow.
And then I click the little X in the search box, and then I see all the LTAs or whatever, and I'm ready to go again.
Huh. So how do you move these bookmarks? Like, do you open raindrop.io, click the link, go over, then copy it out of the website, or copy the text you're going to write, or do you drag and drop?
I don't even have to do that anymore. I don't even have to do that anymore. So because it's a nice Mac app that's mature, I have actually been able to customize the hover buttons. So I have a hover button for copy URL.
Did you say a hover button?
Yeah. So I just hover over the story in the app. So if you click on it in the app, you get a reader view. So it's a 3-pane interface.
Oh, okay. So it's not taking you out to a browser or any nonsense. It's got a built-in browser. So very much like
it has a button.
Very much like a feed reader.
Very like a feed reader, but it's not a feed. It's what you saved. Yeah.
Right.
So it's like a personal feed.
Yeah.
But when you hover over the middle of the 3 panes, you can have you can choose which buttons appear. So I have a button to open in browser because some websites give really bad snippets in their RSS. And then the other button I've chosen is copy URL.
Okay.
So I don't even have to go to the website.
Nice.
I just get the little synopsis in the side pane. That's usually enough. Copy it into the show notes.
And a long time ago, you created actually, I don't remember what it was you wrote it in, but you gave it to me, a thing that says basically copies and paste it as a markdown link so you don't have to format it.
Yeah, it's a text expander snippet using the JavaScript snippet type.
That's right. That's right. Oh, I live on that thing. I hope that thing never breaks because for the life of me, I can never remember which one's the square brackets and which one's the roundy ones.
I have it in. I have so much muscle memory because for me it's MDLC, Markdown Link Clipboard, and it takes whatever's in my clipboard, turns it into a Markdown link. So that's my little text expander for that one.
MDL semicolon.
Close.
Yeah.
Markdown Link. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so it works really well for me. And because you have this double organization, I never get confused. And already I'm really happy, right? I have a native Mac app. I've been able to customize it. It fits my workflow perfectly. The share sheet in iOS is glorious. But it doesn't just have really good tagging support and this folder structure. On the share sheet is a little text box called Notes. And those notes appear in the Mac app. So now you may notice that in the past, I was always asking you, oh, which listener was it said the thing in the Slack that we should be giving credit here, Alison? And you were like, I'm terrible with names. And it's like, well, so am I. Thank you, some Mozilla Castaway, right? And in the last year, I've never done that. I've been able to say, thank you, listener Lynn or listener whoever. Right? I've been able to get the right credit, not just who the person is, but on Mastodon or in the Slack. I've been able, and it's because as soon as I record it, I put in a note. I just put it right there as on the share sheet from listener blah on blah.
On the share sheet?
Send,
wait, why would...
Yeah, so at the point in time when I'm saving the link, so I'm reading the Slack, I click on the link, it's open in Safari, and I click the little share button in Safari.
Right.
And one of the options in the share button is raindrop.io.
Right.
So I click on that, and it gives me a little frame where I get to put the tags in. So I tag it as SB. I get to choose the collection, so I choose show notes. And then I have a notes box, and I just type right there and then, from listener so-and-so in Slack. Save.
Okay. And what's being shared, I'm a little confused.
Is the URL. That's how the URL gets into the bookmark manager.
Right, but
I'm not in the book.
But let me ask the question. Haven't asked it yet.
Okay.
You're in Slack. You're looking at a Slack message. Are you right-clicking on the URL they've posted? Because I'm just not picturing how Slack sharing is working.
Okay, so if someone posts a link in the Slack and I tap on the link in the Slack, you get a mini browser inside the Slack app, which has a little share button.
Okay. So you've already navigated to this story and said, oh, yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah, exactly. Or the other one is you send me a Telegram link going, how's about this for a palette cleanser? So in Telegram, I click on it and it goes up in the little Telegram preview browser.
Right.
And again, you have the share button and I just go straight into Raindrop and I put a note, palette cleanser of Alison.
I understand why I'm confused. When I click links in Slack, at least on the Mac, it opens in Safari.
That is a choice. But it would work fine, right? Because in Safari, you also have the share icon.
It's just why I was disconnected going, I've never seen a way to share anything from there, but that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Nice.
And it also lets me do things like sometimes I save a link because one of the lines in it is good, or it's a big opinion piece by, say, Jan Gooden or someone, and I just actually want one point to highlight in Let's Talk Apple. I can just write it right there. I can just say, key point of this article is blah, blah, blah.
Oh, okay. Right there in the notes.
Yeah, because if I'm recording something on the 1st of the month and I'm making show notes at the end of the month, why did I bookmark this?
Yeah.
Why did I think this link of all the links was the one that was important? And I can just write my note there and then.
Is there any way for you to do those deep links that Adam taught us just recently, where you select and say right-click copy with highlighting?
Yes, because you can share a highlighted link. So anything you can share, there's a share sheet.
Okay.
And my share sheet has raindrop.io.
Gotcha. Huh. So that would also be another way to give yourself a hint of this is why that one piece?
Yes. And so basically, anything you could toot about, I can send to raindrop.io because the interface is the same, right? You hit the share sheet, and instead of clicking the Mastodon icon, I just click the raindrop icon.
So in that case, that would be... Oh, because you've actually navigated to the article inside of the web interface. Gotcha. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. So it's really, really working for me, and it's very flexible, right? So with that collection structure and the tagging, whatever it is that your problem to be solved is, you can solve it with raindrop.io. And whatever your combination of Android and Windows or Linux and iOS, which is probably an unusual combination, probably Linux, Android, but you know what I mean, right? Mm-hmm. You could be Nightwise in Belgium and just have everything, right? And you'll still be fine. So if you look in the show notes, I actually took screenshots, right? So you can see the share sheet, which I screenshotted ages ago to tell you how much the first time it blew my dress up, how much I love this new interface. And that was taken in Slack. So listener Lynn recommended an article on sim swapping from aarp.org. And I was reading it on my phone, and there and then I went, aha, this is one to keep. So I wrote a little note recommended by Lynn on Slack in the show notes collection with the tag SB.
I love it. My favorite part is show notes is spelled SHONOTES.
I fixed that since. It now says the right thing, but I still nestle together as one word because in my mind, that's a word. Show notes.
Yeah.
I say that so often.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is. The one I always write is HELLOW. Like I really should.
Seems cromulent to me.
I really should write a text expander snippet that changes it back because I write it all the time. All the time. It's a word. Hello.
I have a text expander for THE.
Oh, I thought that one was
or
built
HDE.
in. I think that one's actually built in. One of in the common misspellings. That's a classic.
It is now, but I've been a text expander user for so long, I had to write my own.
Back in my day, we had to write our own.
Yeah. And then I also have a screenshot of the Mac app, which sort of shows you how I start the work of, okay, I got to write show notes for Alison. So I open up Raindrop, I click show notes in the sidebar, I click on a little SB tag on one story that populates the search bar, and then I just see my stories. And what you don't see there is when I click on one of those, it does the same as mail, and then it shows me the preview in a new third pane.
Oh, okay. That's really interesting. So being consistent and diligent with your tagging is important.
It is, because it makes it way easier to find stuff. So the fact that I will always tag mushrooms with mushrooms and so forth, as long as you're consistent, you can then really easily find things. We can do a plain text search, and it will search the snippet and the title, because it saves the snippet. A bit like a blog. So it saves that little blog piece in its database. So even when you're offline, you can search the snippets.
Okay.
But obviously, if you're offline or the real website goes away, you can't search that. So the search works very well, and you can use your tags to really narrow it down and get rid of any false positives.
Very cool. It's pretty too.
Right.
But
you know how I value these things.
Yeah, I know. So that might be an Electron app. It looks like it's got the simplicity that you get with an Electron app, but not in a bad way. In a clean,
I could
organized way.
You could write it in Electron. You could probably also write it in other frameworks, but it's entirely compatible with being an Electron app. Yeah.
But that does allow them to do Windows and Mac at the same time, which is great, and keep feature parity. Does Linux run Electron apps?
Yeah.
Oh, they do? Okay.
It does.
But not iOS and Android, don't think.
Android probably would, because that's another Google technology, right? Electron is the Chromium engine.
Oh, I didn't know that, or didn't remember that. Okay.
Yeah, an Electron app is actually a web page in an app. So it's the Chromium engine, and you write your app in JavaScript, and you skin your app in CSS and HTML. Okay.
But iOS is a whole nother Oprah. And I wonder what it's going to do to when you go to liquid glass, but let's not go down that
route. As long as the share sheet works, I'm happy.
You'll be good. Well, that's really cool. So the name of the app is, again, look, you didn't talk about pricing.
The version I'm using is the free version. There is a pro version, and I look at it and I go, I don't need a single one of these features. And I still think I'm going to buy it because I want to give the developer money.
Right.
But I'm still not going to use any of the features.
Yeah, I've done that before. Just go, no, this deserves some money because you should have charged me for what you did give me.
Yeah. And I was paying €50 a year for Pocket.
Oh my gosh. Really? And I was looking at the pricing, even a year of this is only $28. So even if you do pay the developer, you still cut your costs in half.
Right. And it doesn't suck, which at the best of times, Pocket did.
Doesn't suck.
No, it completely doesn't
Active
work.
development, runs on all platforms, freemium model, and even if you pay for it, $28 a year.
Yeah. and I contacted the developer with a question, because at one point I thought I was going to get really clever because they have an API, and I thought maybe I should start writing to the API, and then I realized I don't understand enough about that to do that. But I had a question for the developer, and he wrote back, and he was really nice. And I was like, oh, good.
Well, very good. I almost asked you where what the website is, but I bet it's raindrop.io. Since it's called that.
It is. The app is named after its website. Oh, and the web interface there, once you're a member, raindrop.io/app or app.raindrop.io, can't remember which, is a web version of the app.
So wherever you
it's
are.
Shockingly feature complete.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, shockingly feature complete. Now I'm sure this is an Electron app. Nobody can keep that many systems in sync.
Yeah, you're right. That makes so much sense.
Let's see. It also says under security, it says it's encrypted with HTTPS with RSA 2048-bit keys, SHA-256.
Yeah.
Smells like the right words.
They are, and they're in the right order.
Very good. Well, is there anything else to tell us about, or is that going to finish up? I can't wait to find out what your sign-off is going to be.
Oh, sugar. I didn't think that far ahead. No, I think it has to be a happy computing sign-off when we get there. But yeah, if you're a Pocket user and you're wondering what to do, give this a good look. I've been using it for a year now because I got cranky with Pocket before they completely disappeared. I've been here. I'm very happy here. And the longer I'm here, the happier I get.
That's fantastic.
2 thumbs up.
All right, very good.
Whether or not you care about collecting links forever that you may never read, regardless, until next time, happy computing.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond. Did you notice there weren't any ads in the show? That's because this show is not ad-supported. It's supported by you. If you learned something, or maybe you were just entertained, consider contributing to the Podfeet podcast. You can do that by going over to podfeet.com and look for the big red button that says Support the Show. When you click that button, you're going to find different ways to contribute. You can donate one time through the big Donate button with a credit card or Apple Pay, or you can use PayPal. If you want to make a recurring contribution, click the Patreon button. Keep in mind, I don't charge Patreon for Chit Chat Across the Pond or Programming by Stealth episodes, just once a month for the NosillaCast. That keeps it simple. If you want to contact me for any reason, you can email me at allison@podfeet.com, and you can follow me on Mastodon at podfeet.com/Mastodon. If you want to talk to other Nosilla castaways, you can do that in our Slack group at podfeet.com/Slack. Thanks for listening, and stay subscribed.